Well, hello and welcome back to the From the Garoffice podcast or YouTube channel with Micah Foster. And today I have an amazing conversation with a pastor who also is co-vocational in a cybersecurity firm. His name is Vaughn Sanders, and he is close to Chicago. In his words, he says there's only two places in Illinois, Chicago and anywhere else. And I agree with him as someone who's from California. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Well, Vaughn, thanks for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate you taking some time with me. I know you're a busy man, a pastor. Why don't you give us some context for you, your life, and your ministry?
Yeah, brother, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and be able to share my story with you. Vaughn Sanders, I'm lead teaching pastor at First Baptist Church in Bolingbrook, Illinois. It's about 35 miles southwest of Chicago, so we're in the great Chicago land. It's funny, in Illinois, you're either in Chicago or somewhere else in Illinois. So, yeah, we always have that reference as to where we are in reference to Chicago. So that's where we are. I serve at a 53-year-old church. I've been lead pastor here for a little over 2 years and served as associate prior and deacon prior to that. So I've got a long history with the church, but not as long as the church is,
right?
Which has its own unique pluses and minuses to go along with that. But, my wife and I, we moved here. We're from Missouri originally, and we met in college. Have two children, adult age, so we're kind of on the almost to the empty nest portion. My daughter's in college here in Chicago, and then my son and his wife currently living with us as before they really launch off on their lives. And so it's just really interesting having that dichotomy as well, being more empty nesters than having some younger children.
Wow. And that's where I'm at. I have younger children, elementary age kids. So I've got 3 of them, man. It is my dream that they will launch out someday.
As it is for most of us. I'm still dreaming. My daughter's already said when she graduates, she wants to stay at home a little while just so that she can start to earn some money. And so we'll see when this finally happens, but it will soon. We're blessed to be able to do that. Our parents weren't able to provide for us the way we are providing for our children. So that's as parents, right? That's what we really want, to be able to do a little bit more than what we had with our parents.
Right. And you're giving her some extra time to save, and there's a lot of pluses to immediately getting, yourself into a lot of financial situations. So
absolutely.
Something about that for sure.
No, I was just going to say it has helped us in ministry because of, I don't want to call it a burden, but we have some different freedoms that a lot of other folks don't have. Absolutely. Because we don't have small children. And so we're able to, probably to our detriment sometimes when it takes long hours and to do different things, we're able to do that and have some flexibility in ministry and our jobs otherwise.
So tell me a little bit about your ministry in terms of, how you were impacted by COVID, number one. And number two, are you guys in person now? Are you in person and have an online? How is it working out for you?
Sure. As another portion of that, I'm also co-vocational. You hear the terms bivocational, co-vocational, and really the distinction is when someone's bivocational, you have another job, obviously, but sometimes with the intention of I'm going to work toward being quote unquote full-time in ministry and not have this other job. Co-vocational is more intentional. So I believe God has put me in a place that I can have ministry, not only vocational ministry, but also in the ministry of my other role as well. And so one of the things that, pastors really don't have the opportunity. You're surrounded by quote unquote church people so much that those evangelistic opportunities or understanding what's going on and what's happening in the world and be able to provide those real world experiences to the congregation is kind of lacking. And so that's why I like the term co-vocational, the intentionality behind it. And so and you find a lot of church planters in a similar role that are being bivocational until, maybe they can have, full-time paid ministry.
Right.
But specifically with the pandemic, it has been very interesting for us, like it has been for everybody else. Fortunately, when I came on as pastor, I saw people live streaming and I said, well, we should do that too, but primarily for the purpose of when people are sick or they miss service, then they can catch
Right.
up on it. And so while we were doing it, we weren't doing it well. And so it took the pandemic and then, with the stay at home orders and such, it took that for us to improve on the audio and the visual and things of that nature so that we can still keep the congregation involved and together. And so
Right.
that was initially our purpose. But as time went on, and I saw people who I know, friends and family who don't go to church, and they were saying, "Oh, I watched you on Sunday, or I watched this other person, or it's cool. I can now visit churches without going anywhere." It really clicked for me that, hey, this is a ministry outreach opportunity. And because of everything that's going on, not just with the pandemic, but the social and civil unrest, all these things going
Yes.
on, people are looking for hope. They're looking for a solution to all these things. And so I started to say, well, how do we take advantage of this opportunity? Not just having services online, but also, what else can we do with, Bible studies, YouTube, whatever it is. And so the focus for me is multifold. Currently, we are primarily back in the building, but some people have opted not to, still with the uncertainty. And we have an aging congregation. And so a
Hmm.
lot of people want to take their time coming back and they want to limit the exposure. And we totally respect that. And so they're viewing at home if they can on YouTube and Facebook. And then we probably have a third of the congregation that's coming in person that we're meeting together and things of that nature. So we really had to think through because of the aging congregation, not everybody has internet, not everybody has tablets and things of that nature. And so, we've added newsletters and, snail mail letters, phone calls, and things of that nature in order to still meet with and connect with the folks within our congregation who are not tech savvy, so to speak.
Right. I've seen some churches who have a lot of older people in their congregation who, as you said, are not tech savvy, or they just don't want to be. They just they could do it. They just like, I really don't want to get into it. It's too much.
Yep.
I'm good. I've lived my whole life without doing this. So, which is true. They've been fine.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of pastors and churches who have had a lot of those people have used like a call-in service where they could listen to. Have you guys explored any of that stuff?
Yeah, we have. We looked at some surveys and talked to some folks, and many weren't interested in that either, to be able to call in. But it's actually been surprising. A lot of those folks that really don't want to have anything to do with technology, once we made those things available, they got on Facebook, they got on YouTube, and they started to make it work. Or, there are some people that have found other means as well. And so I've actually really been surprised at the adoption of technology, even though they eschewed it at first.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they were missing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scarcity brings value, right? So, hey, I can't get this stuff.
Yeah, not just missing out, but these senior saints that they are here faithfully, they worship faithfully, they're praying faithfully, and they felt what was missing. Like, this is part of my life. This is my life, and I can't go without it. And so that's what's been really encouraging to me as a pastor, to have these senior saints and say, I want this, I need this. And how do we make it happen? How do we get more of it? And we can't wait to get back in the building.
Yeah. Obviously. So tell me about, because I know that you have a personal YouTube channel. Does your church have a YouTube channel as well? How does that?
We do.
Okay. So on your, let's say this, on the church one, under the church name, what goes out on there? And also, are you broadcasting on YouTube? Are you broadcasting on Facebook? Is it live? Is it pre-recorded? How's all that work?
Sure. Yeah, it is broadcasted live on both Facebook and YouTube. we've been using the Mevo camera has been really
Gotcha.
great for that. And I am the tech person at the church as well, and so this affords me to be able to. I've trained some non-technical folks to be able to run it, and it's been fantastic. Well, little hiccups here and there, but with
Sure.
technology, that's what you get. But we are live on YouTube and Facebook. And it's the entire service. Prior to the pandemic, we only did the sermon portion because we
Okay.
didn't have the licensing to do the music.
Mhm.
But we acquired that license in order to broadcast the music as well. And we do the entire service on our YouTube, the church YouTube. And again, that's primarily for our members.
Yes.
Although I would say we do have, folks not only from Illinois, but also the broader U.S. and outside of the U.S. that tune in faithfully as well.
So what about your personal YouTube channel?
So the personal YouTube, the goal of being missionary and evangelistic, because I thought about joining YouTube. I've been thinking about it for years and wanted to do it. I thought it would be fun and exciting to be in a community like that. And it wasn't until the George Floyd murder that it really prompted me to do something. There were so many voices that were out there. And as I mentioned a moment ago, people were distraught. They were lamenting, they were hurting. And there were so many different voices out there that frankly weren't beneficial, right? And then I felt like there needed to be some biblical voices that were coming out to say that what thus saith the Lord, or the hope that is provided through the gospel. And so that really prompted me, like, I'm sure there's others out there, but God has put me in a place and given me the ability, I should be able to speak out as well. And so that's really the goal of my personal YouTube channel, is so that people can understand the Bible and how to apply it to their lives. How do you live out your faith authentically in the world, and what does that look like? And I think as we become a post-Christian nation, a post-Christian world, it's becoming harder and harder, and we've got a lot of things vying for our attention. And I just want to help people with that biblical foundation to assure them that, it can be done. It's not as weird as some people make it out to be. And it is truly foundational. It has not changed. And that is the only hope that is going to be lasting.
Is looking at like Europe, because they've been post-Christian long before the US. Looking at their situation, one of the parts of the equation, from my perspective, is the culture understood the church as a place you go. And so they've got all these cathedrals that are beautiful, magnificent pieces of artwork that were built for the glory of God. And then, slowly people abandoned those because of all kinds of things. But the definition remained the same, that it was a place, it was a building. And so I think part of our danger in America is that misconception that most people believe that the church is a place you go, not a people or a people that you're a part of, not a living body, but just something you do. The more that we kind of get away from, or the more that people get away from the application of the church instead of a destination, that divide continues to grow. That's a small piece of the equation in what I've witnessed and seen as well, and kind of studying some of that European culture. And so part of what I'm always talking about and telling our church is, hey, listen, because we're in California, right? We're not meeting together. We don't have property of our own. Some churches can meet outside on the grass or whatever. We don't have anything like that. If we want to do that, we've got to borrow, someone else's space. And so part of what I have continually been trying to teach our church over this past year is that, listen, just because we're not in person doesn't mean we're not the church. We are meeting together in spirit. We are devouring the same message. We are trying to apply the same thing in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, wherever we find ourselves. And so that has been kind of the rally cry that I've been saying, hey, don't wait for this pandemic to be over to grow in your faith. You better be growing right now. You'll never have an opportunity like this again. You better take advantage of right now and what God is doing in your life, or you're going to miss the whole thing, the whole opportunity, and you won't be able to get it back. It's just like, we have got to take advantage of where God places us in the time he places us. And right now, man, for us, it's at home. And so I'm trying to teach people, hey, listen, you have got to be in the Word. Like, let's get foundational with these practices, being in the Word, praying, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's my tangent. That's where I'm coming from, California right now.
No, brother, same here. I mean, we're singing from the same hymnal, so to speak. When I came on as pastor here, these are some of the things that I had been talking about already, talking about discipleship and how we are the church, and we need to take the church out to the communities, our friends and family who don't know Jesus, don't know the gospel. And when the season started, I was thinking, man, this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for. Now the things that I've been talking about, we have to do it. I've been talking about, let's get out of these four walls.
Yeah.
And be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so now we're being forced to do that.
Yeah.
Although it's still hard for it to catch on.
Yeah.
So we're still having those discussions. So I've been wholly focused on discipleship, so that we can be gathering together those who can get together in small groups and get together and fellowship and study and pray and things of that nature, but also helping the community and so supplying to their needs. One of the things I did earlier in the pandemic is I created a Facebook group called Pay It Forward Bolingbrook, and the design was the people in the group to be able to post if they had a need or a want. And so in addition to people that have needs, obviously there were givers that came to the group as well. And so people can come to the group to say, I need groceries, I need errands run, or I need a ride to the doctor, I need masks, whatever have you. This was a safe place to come on Facebook and to just inquire on how we can get some things that are needed. And so I was really encouraged by that, and we've been able to do some incredible things for the community because, as a 53-year-old church, one of the things I was thinking about is if we got demolished or something happened to our building or our church, would the community even know? Would it be substantive enough that they would be upset, or would they not care? And so God put us here for a reason. He planted us 53 years ago for a reason. We should be out in the community, and people should know, hey, if you need something, that you need to go talk to those folks, because they're always out here and they're helping people, and they're teaching folks how to advance in their career or job skills, whatever have you. That is the place to go. And so again, just like you said, this is an opportunity for us to go out and to start doing those things, and so that when things get to quote unquote back to normal, then we're in a different place. And I don't know that we'll ever get back to what we're used to. It'll certainly still be different. And so because of that, our church needs to be different as well.
I love that you saw an opportunity in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the uncertainty, and you built a community. You invited people to be a part of a community that could help fulfill the needs of one another. That's like, Vaughn, that's like New Testament stuff. That's like Jesus stuff right there.
And I can't take total credit. I did see saw another church doing something similar, but it was same. Yeah, hey, we need this in our community. We need something like this. Wonder what that would look like for us to do something. And so, man, it's just been cool to see the way God has blessed other people through our church. And I think that's what we're here for.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So tell me real quick, because you mentioned it, that you are co-vocational. What is the other job?
So I'm a director for a cybersecurity firm. And so I've been in the corporate world for a really long time. And I'm fortunate because I think that corporate experience has helped prepare me for where I am now, even though people get a little weird when you start talking about business and church at the same time. But there's some, leadership things that I've been through, managing people as well, planning, goal setting, all those things work just as well. And we see it from a biblical foundation as well, that the importance of doing these things. Look at all the leaders that we see in the Bible and how they led people, how they managed disputes as they came up. And so I think there's a lot of skills that are easily transferable. And so I like to say that I am an evangelist for not only your spiritual needs, but also your technology needs as well. So it's been really fun. It's been cool to do that, and that's why I think I've been comfortable with adding a lot of the technology that we're using today, because I've always been a tech geek and had the latest and greatest gadgets. And so it was an easy transition for us at the church to be able to add some of these components. And then also, I mean, when I'm standing in a pulpit and we're, expounding on text, I can actually give examples from my personal life about how I'm having gospel conversations within the workplace. Whereas, people with, oh, that's taboo.
Right.
You can't bring up church. You can't bring up God. You can't bring up any of that stuff. But there's ways to authentically live out your faith that is powerful within the workplace. And so I'm able to directly give some of those examples and hopefully encourage the hearers of it.
That's awesome, because you're relatable, because you're in a different environment also. And so many pastors are not in a different circle. And so they're like, well, I mean, can't really do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to say it gives me some street cred, not just with in the workplace, but also within the church, because when we're having a business dinner or something, and people, well, so Vaughn, what do you like to do in your free time? Say, well, I'm a pastor of a small church in Bolingbrook. Really? I don't know any pastors.
Right.
Tell me about that.
What does that mean? What do you do? Yeah.
Exactly. But even without being a pastor, how was your weekend? What did you do? I went to church and heard this incredible message, and it really inspired me. Really, why did it inspire you? Tell me more. Right? There's ways that we can put it into our conversations.
And then you get to say, because I preached it. I'm just messing with you.
Exactly. Maybe.
Hey, tell me about this, because we're both on a very new social media called Clubhouse. And I talked about this with someone else in the last podcast, but tell me, what do you see the potential, the kingdom implications, how do I even say it? What am I trying to say? What you can use this for in your ministry or business or both. Tell me, what do you see there?
I'm still exploring that. I feel like I'm getting old because, with technology, I was always able to pick it up, figure it out really quick. But Clubhouse is just a different animal for me, with it being an audio only. And even the people that are on it are just, for iOS only and things of that nature. And so, and then the other difference is with YouTube and podcasts, I can note that, hey, I'm going to go back and listen to that later, or I'm interested in this, I'll catch up on it. But that doesn't exist in Clubhouse. You're either there or you're not. And so there's a lot of FOMO that is in there. So what I'm really thinking about, what I'm mulling over, is exactly what you asked. What is the opportunity for me, for us, and the church? And one of the things that I'm thinking about is because what I want people to do is be able to authentically live out their faith, and just drive conversations about that. So I see it as an extension of my YouTube channel, where I will take current events or things that we see in the Bible, and how do we apply that to our lives, and what does the Bible have to say about these different scenarios? So I see that as an easy transition to Clubhouse, to have open discussions. How should we be thinking about the new changes that we're seeing in the world, in the U.S., our new president and administration? How should we be thinking about that? Some of the policies that are coming down, or the vaccine, people are saying, oh, the vaccine is the mark of the beast. Well, what does the Bible have to say about the mark of the beast, and how do we understand it with that lens? And so I think people are open, especially the later generations, right? The millennial generations and further. They are asking these types of questions, and I don't believe that the church has been able or open to answering a lot of those things. And so based on the statistics that I'm reading, something like this might really appeal.
I was talking with Dennis Paulette about this. We were exploring. It was like, this inevitably, when I talk to someone on this and we're recording a podcast, something happens after I stop recording. They're like, oh man, we should have captured that. But so it teaches me I probably should just not stop recording, even though we've stopped recording. But we were talking about Clubhouse, and then I'm like, let's see if I can pull it up in Ecamm if I plug in my phone. And then we were able to put it like between us, and we were able to see stuff. Now, Clubhouse has a policy that you can't record the audio that's happening unless everyone who's speaking and involved in that, not the listeners, but the people on the virtual stage who have the ability to talk, they must agree. So I've seen a couple of times in the title of a room, which a room is like, if you think about going to a conference, you got a bunch of breakouts. Clubhouse is a 24/7 audio only conference. You're walking down this virtual hallway, looking at the signs on the door saying, do I want to jump into that room and listen to these guys talk on the stage? And they might invite you onto the stage if you raise your hand, you virtually raise your hand, you press a button and they go, oh, they're raising their hand. Would you like to come up and say something? So you can be involved in these kind of spur of the moment conversations. But some of the room titles have like recorded on it. So you know what you're getting into if you go in there. So I think one of the applications could be just like this. We get into like an Ecamm situation. We pull up the phone screen between us. We're talking about a George Floyd or a political thing or a verse or whatever. And there's people who can listen, and we're also recording it. So we're recording it for a podcast or for YouTube or whatever. And we're getting some feedback from some audience members. It could be totally random. That's the scary thing. You may not know them or what they're going to say. So that's the other thing is like, you could get a total troll in there. But right now it's invite only. So you got to have a code. Someone's got to like authenticate you basically and say you're who you are. And I just learned this. The more codes you give away, when you log in again, they'll give you more. So I didn't realize that at first. I was hoarding the codes like the unfaithful servant. And finally I realized, I got to give this away to get more. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm mulling over and seeing as a possibility for Clubhouse. But here's the thing for me. I don't think the masses of our church are going to get into this new digital medium. So it's going to be pastors and leaders, people who are interested in, people who do podcasts or are interested in those kinds of conversations, are going to be the people that I can have those sorts of things with.
Yeah, but I think that's true. Definitely from my congregation, with being aging, like I said, I'm surprised a lot of them are on YouTube. But for me, it's the younger demographic. They are certainly going to be on Clubhouse, especially when there's Android that opens up. And so Clubhouse is already growing leaps and bounds, and people are going, especially I think it might be successful because of the isolation that we experience. And so the keyboard warriors that we see on the various social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook and so forth, you don't get that. You can't be that on Clubhouse. This is definitely more authentic, and being able to hear somebody's voice and be able to connect with them or agree and rebut and things of that nature. So I'm viewing it as reaching the people where they are, whoever is there. But in addition to that, it'll also feed like what are the needs, what are the questions that people are asking, what is the things that they're looking for. And so not only does that feed the content that I would probably use on my YouTube channel, but also feed what I'm preaching on a Sunday as well, to be able to know the pulse of what people are asking and what they're needing.
So tell me, you mentioned this as maybe it's a research opportunity for what people are struggling with, what they want to know. What other tools besides your other business that you're involved in and Clubhouse, what other tools do you use to try to figure that out? How do you have your ear to the ground of the culture?
Fortunately, that's the benefit of having kids. So we have these discussions, and I always have. And I think I've always been there with them, and I've been able to anticipate kind of the things that they're talking about it into. But again, as I get older, I'm missing things somehow. I don't know why that happens. But they're keeping me grounded, and so being able to sit at the dinner table or what have you, and get their perspective on what their friends and them are talking about,
Yeah.
what they're seeing out there, because they are exposed to different things than what we are. And so I'm hoping to continue to connect in that way. But yeah, certainly social media is easy to go to be on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and others, MeWe. There's so many out there, in order to see again what people are talking about, how they're engaging with what's going on in the world, how they're engaging with the Bible, to be able to substantiate, how can I, fit in the gap here, and similar to what I would do with my congregation, right? Through conversations. How are you doing? What have you been up to? What have you been challenged with? How can I be praying for you? Those types of things already inform
Right.
what it is that I'm supplying to my congregation. So I just see that as broadening.
I think we can get stuck in our plan. We can have like this is where I'm going to go in my preaching or whatever this year. This is my plan for the year. I'm going to go here at this time. And we forget sometimes to adapt to what's happening. I think the Holy Spirit helps us in our planning and also helps us adapt. So I think we need to do both. But yeah, man, it's awesome to hear all the things that you're doing in the digital culture to meet the needs of people, to inform people, to help people find the hope in Jesus, as you described. I really appreciate you taking your time and hanging out with me. I know you're a busy man. I mean, you got a lot going on, so I don't want to take up all your time. But where can people find you if they want to know more, they want to watch your videos, see what you have to say, or even, Lord willing, someone even says, I want to give to this guy's ministry, where would they go?
Oh, fantastic! It's funny I hear this on a podcast, and I'm like, wow, who am I? I'm a nobody. So, but no, it's encouraging. So my goal is to encourage others, and again to be able to authentically live out their faith. And so YouTube is very new for me. I started in earnest just a few months ago, but you can find me at Vaughn Sanders Ministries on YouTube. I'm Vaughn Sanders on Facebook, and VRSJ on most of the other platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and so forth. You can go to buymeacoffee/Pastor Vaughn if you'd like to support my YouTube ministry, and that will go to not only buying gear and to be able to keep up with the things that are necessary in order to do YouTube and podcasts, but also there's some missional components as well. And so there's a portion of those proceeds that go to support local and international missions as well. So
Awesome.
I would love to connect. This is a community, and I would love to support in any way that I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you and what you're doing for the kingdom. God bless you, and many blessings to your ministry.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you, brother.
If you want to support Vaughn, I'm sure he would love for you to buy him a cup of coffee. And also, you can buy me a cup of coffee if you'd like. There's a link in the description below. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. Give it a heart, a like, a share, and help the algorithm figure out that I'm here and sharing good stuff for the kingdom of God. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.